Hello, I'm Dave England, the host of Wine with Dave. This is Racism Week, Thursday, June 11th. All I ask is you have an open mind, an open heart, and ask a lot of questions. Good evening, everybody. How is everybody tonight on a Thursday, June 11th evening, rainy evening in Rhode Island? Let's see. I am really excited tonight. Lots going on. Lot is going on. So if this is, 2 nights ago, I was celebrating the 50th episode. Well, I made a mistake. I forgot 2 episodes. 2 episodes, I took a break. I had a cancellation, and I just needed a break. Just to I've been doing it every day since April 1st. I don't think I've been that consistent for anything. But I forgot to erase the episode number, so the numbers are off. So actually, this is episode 49. It should have been 51, but it really isn't. It's 49. So I will celebrate my 50th episode tomorrow night, Friday night. But this is 49. We're getting close. Hey, leave a comment. If this is your first time here, like the page right up top. What do we have? Who do we have here? We have Suzanne Bays. Hi, the girl from North Kingston. G-Man White. Hello, Gary from Swansea. How's it going, Gary? The G-Man. Good to have you on. Ask a lot of questions. Kristen, hi Dave, I'm looking forward to hearing from Sergeant Pennington tonight. Me too. Olinda Brito, hi Dave. Everybody's coming on. We got a bunch of people. If you're seeing this feed on another page outside of Wine with Dave, that's okay. You can watch it anywhere. It gets shared quite a bit. But if you want to leave a comment and you want your comment to show up on screen, just go to the top page that you're on and just type in Wine with Dave, all one word, and just go to that page and watch the video on that page. Same video, same thing. You'll just lose maybe 3 seconds. But when you go there, every comment you type in will show up on the screen, and it's kind of a way to pull you into the conversation. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to hearing from everybody from all over. Felicia Kennedy, hey, I'm going to try to listen. Yeah, that would be great. That'd be great. It's going to be a good night. Julianne, looking forward to this. Nice, Julie. Is this your first time here? Love to know if this is your first time here. Let me get this. Got my Yeti microphone. Okay, everything's looking good. Nothing could possibly go wrong. It's technology, right? Leave a comment. Type in where you're from, what city and town. First time here. Please like the page. Racism Week on Wine with Dave has seen record numbers. We are over 3,000 people have seen so far 3 episodes, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm flat out blown away and humbled that I feel like I can just turn Wine with Dave into Racism Week and let the black voice be heard. And I really honestly feel very humbled by that. So I'm glad. In record numbers, you guys definitely, it's a hot topic. So that's really cool. Who else do we have here? We've got Joe Reddish in the house, back from Wyoming. Looking forward to hearing Wes's insight. Yeah, Joe. Joe started it out. If you want to listen to older episodes from this week, they all get saved. Just go to the far left side, click on videos, and you'll see them. Don't do it now because you want to see this episode. But Joe was on Monday. Fantastic interview, I think. John Rubiano Sr. Hi, Dave. Looking forward to hearing from Pastor Wes. Nice. John Rubiano Sr. Silvio Gario, an old friend. Hi. How you doing, Silvio? There's a deep thinking man right there. Julianne, yes. Nathan Andery, hi there. Oh, my gosh, everybody. We are excited about tonight. Rick Smith. Silvio from East Providence. Oh, slow down, people. Silvio from East Providence. Olinda, it's a great series. Thanks, Dave. Well, you are very, very welcome. You're very, very welcome. On this day, June 11th, 1963, I want to get right into this. 57 years ago, President John F. Kennedy addressed the nation on live television. Check it out.
We are confronted primarily with a moral issue. It is as old as the Scriptures and is as clear as the American Constitution. The heart of the question is whether all Americans are to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities, whether we are going to treat our fellow Americans as we want to be treated. If an American, because his skin is dark, cannot eat lunch in a restaurant open to the public, if he cannot send his children to the best public school available, if he cannot vote for the public officials who represent him, if, in short, he cannot enjoy the full and free life which all of us want, then who among us would be content to have the color of his skin changed and stand in his place? Who among us would then be content with the counsels of patience and delay? 100 years of delay have passed since President Lincoln freed the slaves, yet their heirs, their grandsons, are not fully free. They are not yet freed from the bonds of injustice. They are not yet freed from social and economic oppression. And this nation, for all its hopes and all its boasts, will not be fully free until all its citizens are free.
57 years ago tonight. What has changed? You know, I saw this post on Facebook, and it was, what has all the protesting accomplished? Sometimes I wonder it's just the youth of America just getting out there and protesting, and what are they really doing? But it's a loud enough voice where you can make change. No matter who you are, what side of the aisle you're on, if you have a voice, you can make change. But this is what all the protesting for at least the Black Lives Matter and all the peaceful protesting, that is, not the fringe people that have been destroying. What have they accomplished? Minneapolis bans use of chokeholds. Charges are upgraded against Officer Chauvin, and his accomplices are arrested and charged. Dallas adopts a duty to intervene rule that requires officers to stop other cops who are engaged in inappropriate use of force. New Jersey Attorney General said the state will update its use of force guidelines for the first time in 2 decades. In Maryland, a bipartisan work group of state lawmakers announced a police reform work group. Police brutality captured on cameras leads to near immediate suspension in firings of officers in several states, Buffalo and Fort Lauderdale, among others. Monuments celebrating Confederates are removed in cities in Virginia, Alabama, and other states. Street in front of the White House is renamed Black Lives Matter. There's been a shift, an awakening. We're not trying to start a race war, but we are protesting to end it. All lives cannot matter until you include black lives. You cannot say all lives matter when you do nothing to stop systemic racism. You cannot say all lives matter when black people are dying and all you complain about is the looting and losing your Alley's Donuts discount. Do all lives matter? Yes, all lives matter. But right now, only black lives are being targeted and tested at an alarming rate. If all lives matter, you don't do this. At a Black Lives Matter protest, if truly all lives matter, you don't do this. New Jersey corrections officer was suspended and a FedEx worker was fired. You might be surprised at what I'm about to say, but I actually have hope for those guys, and they don't represent right wing, left wing, any wing. They are people that are misguided. My hope and prayer is that in a very short time, 6 months, a year, whatever it takes, that they realize what they did. And it only lasted about 2 minutes, I believe, or a minute and a half that they did that, standing on the neck of someone in as a joke in front of the Black Lives Matter movement was going down the street. But I believe they'll look back and use that and realize how wrong they were and help people who have really intense hatred or jealousy that blacks are getting the spotlight on them, or even worse, racism. I really hope and pray that, and I know people are like, oh, they should rot in hell. That's not me. People can change. I've changed. People can change. That's my thought. I don't know what you guys think of that. Silvio, I've always loved this address. Rick Smith, wow, that was amazing. Yep. It's not just U.S., it's also in Europe. Yeah, there's a lot of changes. Tonight, folks, I'm a little scared. I got a cop on the show. I better be on my best behavior. He's not a cop. He's not an officer. He's a state trooper. I've never done an interview like this. So I'm not really scared because I met him. I met him earlier today. He's the nicest guy. Tonight's guest is State Police Sergeant Wesley Pennington. He's a man of order. He's a cop. He's a football coach. He's a father. He's a husband. He's an ordained pastor. He's a YouTube star. Yes, he has a channel where he teaches you how to smoke meats, and it's called Wes's Barbecue on YouTube. Are you ready to meet him? I want to introduce you to the Honorable, the Awesome State Police Sergeant Wesley Pennington. How are you, Wes?
I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
Good. Did I humble you out with that amazing intro, I think?
Yeah, I don't know about the honorable part, but...
The Honorable.
Here I am.
Here you are. All right, so I go black and white because it's black and white issues of race. It's black and white to me. So that's, figuratively speaking, I'm going black and white on the show this week. But I realized, you know what? I can kind of bring up the color a little bit and get back to reality. I thought that was a cool little effect for the first day, but I'm just going to bring this up. So we are now in color, as we are, right? Tell me about Cranston. You grew up in Cranston.
Yeah, I grew up in Cranston, Rhode Island, and Edgewood in Cranston. I went to high school at Cranston High School East, where I played football for them and basketball, and it was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah? You were involved in a lot of sports?
Oh, absolutely. I played baseball, basketball, football. My mom tried to keep me as busy as possible.
Nice. So, a native of Rhode Island? You've always been in Rhode Island?
I was born in Norwalk, Connecticut, and then shortly after my birth, my parents moved to Providence, Rhode Island, and then actually we moved then out to Swansea, Massachusetts, and then back to Cranston.
Right. So, if people are wondering, that's a cool chair behind you. You're in your man cave right now, right?
That's it. You've been invited into my sanctuary.
I got to hang out with you. That's got to be cool. So how long have you been a state trooper?
I've been with the Rhode Island State Police for 25 years.
Wow. Now, you were telling me earlier today that you felt like you've always been a police officer, like even as young as 5 years old. Can you tell me that?
Absolutely. When I was actually 6 years old, my parents and I were on a trip heading to Connecticut to visit family. Mm-hmm. And my father got stopped by a Connecticut state trooper. And I can remember it like it was yesterday, me looking out the back window and seeing this state trooper walk up towards the car. I mean, his buckles are shining, his hat's on, he's got the glasses on, and I'm just in awe of this guy walking up to the car. And I'll be honest, from that moment forward, there was nothing else that I wanted to do.
Really? He was just cool. He was like John Wayne, like us growing up as like these cowboys, and you're like, that's the coolest thing.
Absolutely. From that point on, there was really nothing else. There was no number two in my life that I wanted to do and be.
And so what did your dad do with the speeding ticket? No, I'm just kidding.
I have no idea. I don't even remember if he got a ticket at that point, but all I can remember is seeing that person walk up to the car, and something inside of me ignited, and that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's like when I was a little kid, I knew I always wanted to be an artist. It just automatically. I never had to guess. I was always drawing. I feel like I used to joke with my mom. I was born with a pencil in my hand, just, writing on everything I could. But that's cool. That's really cool that you knew that at an early age. So let's talk racism. And first of all, thank you for coming on the show. I always tell the guests, thanks for being brave, for being on the show. But that's nothing I should tell you, right? There's got to be a level of bravery in you in your DNA, right? You've just always been a brave guy, or no?
Well, I don't know about bravery. It's more about doing what you have to do. I think since probably that day in the car, I've always been built and formed into the form of a soldier. I mean, I was in the Army, where I spent time in the 82nd Airborne Division. I was in the first Gulf War. I was one of the first units sent over there. And coming right out of there, I became a police officer in West Warwick for 2 years, and then I went right to the state police. So I feel like my whole life has been being groomed around being a soldier. And so I don't know if it's so much bravery than just doing what has to be done.
Mm-hmm. You're just willing to put yourself out there and be the voice of reason and calm things down. Do you feel like you're that kind of a guy, that you're a mediator? You break up fights and kind of listen? You seem like a really cool, chill guy, kind of guy.
Well, I mean, my whole thing, even when I was younger, people would ask me, why do you want to be a state trooper? Mm-hmm. And, it was all about helping people. It was never about, arresting anyone or anything crazy like that. It was just about, helping people. And that's always been in my DNA, and obviously as I'm a ordained pastor as well. So that's always something that I wanted to do, is help people. And, it works out fine because our motto in the state police is in the service of the state. So I guess I'm in the service of mankind, no matter how I look at it.
Yeah, there you go. So I got a long thing here. Let me see. Nathan Andery, Mirrors of Privilege by Shakti Butler is an effective program that talks about racism from a privileged perspective. White to white, keeps disappearing me. White to white, mirrors of privilege. It breaks down the statement that this is his problem or her problem. It's our problem to fix. Yeah, that's interesting. Robert Hawkins, is he with the Rhode Island State Police?
He was, if it's the Robert Hawkins I'm thinking of.
Yep. So he's asking that. Bob Goldberg, thank you for your service, Sergeant Pennington, from Bob Goldberg. That's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me get on to some of these questions. Before we get into the big question, I know we're going to mention the B word, but have you ever experienced any type of racism in your entire life? Can you get into some detail there?
Have I? Absolutely. So if we start off back in Cranston, growing up, I can remember times when I'd be walking down the street with my friends, and obviously my friends, I had African American and white friends, black and white friends, and being stopped by the police, and them coming directly to me and looking me up and down and checking my sneakers and saying I fit the description. And I just came from the basketball court or the baseball field, and had done nothing other than just walking home and having this encounter. And growing up and having those types of encounters, you kind of get, I hate to say used to it, but you get to a point where you almost expect it when you see police officers coming your way. Mm-hmm.
Right. So you hung out with a lot of friends, and did you get in any fights? I'm just curious what police officers were like when they were kids. Were they just like anyone else? They still got in trouble with cops?
Well, actually, I didn't get into a lot of fights. I've always been the kind of person that got along with everybody.
Yeah.
And unless I had to fight, usually it didn't come down to that. Could usually reason our way out of it. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't growing up. I wasn't like this big tough guy or anything. I was just an average boy growing up in Cranston, going to school, playing sports, trying to stay out of trouble, and just trying to enjoy my childhood.
Right, right. I remember I I was falsely arrested for something years ago. You know, handcuffs, strip search, the whole thing, fingerprints, and it was humiliating. I mean, I'm a white kid. It was like 2 weeks ago. No, I'm kidding. It was many years ago, but it was like, wow, getting handcuffed and just brought to the station. It was like, whoa, my life is not my own. Someone is in charge of me right now. I'm in the back of a patrol vehicle. It just, it's scary. I mean, if you're on the other side of that, but I don't know. It's just crazy. So I had a little bit of a thing with cops because I was innocent. Had a lawyer. They threw it out of court, the whole thing. So but I understand where the cop thought I was guilty. I was with friends, and long story. We'll save that for another time. But I had a little bit of a thing there, a little chip on my shoulder. Like, I don't know if I trust cops. They just assume, oh, you're there with that guy, you're guilty. Get in the car, arrest them. And I would always think that cops are just like arresting happy. They just want to arrest people. But that, I was younger. Now you get older, you realize it's their job to arrest if there's something going on. So, Robert Hawkins, we have the finest state police department in the country. Nice.
It's true.
Yeah, you guys are impressive, man. There's cops and there's state police officers, the state officers. Thank you for your service, my friend. People are already kind of commenting on you. Joe Reddish, can you share your experience with implicit bias? Yeah, so you're on the board for that, right?
I am a member of the Commission on Prejudice and Bias, and I also teach officers about implicit biases, because I believe that we have to kind of be aware of the things that we bring into every situation. And there's times when people don't understand that it's something they developed as a youth, something from their family, something from their friends that they kind of gathered and taken in and adopted as truth, as a reality. And it can affect them on the job. It can affect them in a situation where they might operate or do something wrong based on a bias that they have that they were unaware of.
Mm-hmm. My big question has always been, especially recently in the last year anyway, and obviously not all cops are bad. We all know that. That's just common sense. Not every baker is bad. Not every cop, not every web designer. Come on. But I kind of wonder, with the violence kind of rising up with some of these young guys, they're all kind of jacked up and muscled. And how's the hiring process for that? I'm just curious. What is the hiring process to just hire someone? Do they go through the training and most make it, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, you have to go through the process, fill out the application. You have to go through a written test, physical fitness test, background investigation. And then once they select you for the academy, you have to go into the academy, and then you have to go through the academy and pass the academy. So
you get that BCI check and everything. You go through everything.
A little bit more in depth than a BCI check, but yeah,
it's
a full background investigation. Absolutely.
Really? So it gets into like FBI level, maybe?
Yeah. We actually talk to your neighbors. We talk to your teachers. We talk to everybody that knows you that we can get in touch with to see what type of person you are.
It's pretty intrusive. So if you've done anything bad, it comes up.
Possibly.
So do you feel like these young guys, and I'm talking 20, 22, 25 or so, they're coming in, they just became a cop. Do you feel like they don't understand history of racism? Is that what you're seeing in this bias and prejudice committee that you're part of?
I would hate to generalize anyone.
Yeah, and I'm not saying all the new guys are all like racist. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, how are they brought in?
Well, I'll be honest. When I first came on, my thinking and my approach to things was a lot was a lot different than my thinking and my approach to things now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so young guys coming on to the job, they're coming on with a mentality that they actually need in order to do the job, because it's not an easy job to do. And as time goes on, you know, you start to kind of look at things and see things a little bit differently,
Mm-hmm.
and you start to kind of understand things a little bit differently. And so that kind of changes up how you operate and how you
Right.
do.
Okay. I've got a question from Suzanne. It's a long one. Question: I have worked in schools for 25 years. When the government wanted to make changes to the educational system, everyone had an opinion about it. But when they started to make laws about it, they did not consult the teachers. Teachers knew what needed to happen to improve education, but were not asked. My question: is this happening with the police department? The thing keeps dropping. Is this happening with the police departments? Are they asking the police leaders, what do you need to make your jobs work?
That's a good question. You know, at my level, you know, we are getting asked that question, and I'm sure, I'm positive, I'm not speaking out of line when I say that the colonel's probably being asked, you know, what can he be given, or what they can do to assist us to do our jobs better. You know, because everybody wants to see us succeed, and to have the tools that we need to do the job effectively.
Yeah, okay. Carly says, what's been done to recruit minority people for the force? It's a good question.
Good question. I'm actually a recruiter as well for the state police. So we've done, I think, a really good job at reaching out and actually going to universities, going into neighborhoods, trying to attract and get minorities to sign up and to apply for the state police.
Mm-hmm.
I've personally talking to many minorities in reference to application and the application process and how to get through it. And even once they're in the process of application, we're still in contact with them, helping them through the process with any questions they might have or guidance that we could give them.
So you're trying to build that up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, trying to get that going. Deb Burton says, have you experienced prejudice from other officers?
That would be tough to say definitely. I would probably say that I probably have experienced some biases that I would think were kind of off and maybe had some racial overtones to them. But to say that I've experienced racist officers, not blatantly, not right in front of me or in my face, so that would be hard for me to answer.
Yeah.
Correctly and honestly.
Yeah, it's a tough question there. S.A. Alex, do they have a psychological exam? So these are the people that are coming in.
Yes, that's part of the process to get hired. You have to go through a psychological exam. And then once you pass that, that's part of the hiring process.
I mean, it seems like so scrutinized to become a cop, but then again, if you're putting a badge on someone, they have that authority. The general public wants to trust that person. And I think by and large, they do. There's going to be punks on the street that are like, you know, screw you, cop. But I'm talking by and large, we want to trust that. So I think it's good to have a lot of that, psychological tests and all.
And we want to make sure too that when we put a guy on the job or a woman on the job, that they're going to uphold the traditions and the standards that we have set. You know, and that they're going to be good for the job. You know, so yeah, it's worth it, and it's definitely something that we do with professionalism in order to get the right people on the job to do a good job.
Right. So Amy Gates, good friend of mine, I think they do a psych test too, as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Sal Socco, why do you think the police departments are having these problems?
Good question. Well, it's like any job. As much as we might dig to try to find out the person you are, there's always the person inside that nobody knows. And, so, people can still get hired that aren't good for the job. And we hope that we find them before that, but there's a chance that they could get hired and could come on the job, and it could be hidden in them and then not even realize it until they come on the job. And like I said, some of those biases might get exposed, and then all of a sudden they find themselves in a bad situation and reacting poorly to it.
Yeah. So Kristen Wilson saying, and people are just sharing their opinions. Do you believe that when police murdered unarmed black men and women, that it is a lack of training? Oh, it keeps disappearing on me. A lack of training, or that they are members of the alt-right? So
I don't know if it's I can't say it's a lack of training, because I don't know what every police officer's training has been. It's a reaction. It's the best I can say. It's a reaction. And sometimes reactions are made, and I hate to keep going back to this place, but sometimes reactions are made based on things that we believe, based on things that we've experienced, based on fears that we have. And sometimes those reactions are the result of those things, and sometimes we react poorly and we react wrong. And that's the whole key to this. I mean, that's going to happen. Mistakes are going to be made, right? Hopefully, they're not made with a racial overtone to them. Hopefully, they're just honest mistakes, and hopefully, when those mistakes are made, we're able to just say, okay, it was a mistake. Deal with it and get better from it, and not try to hide it or sugarcoat it, but be transparent about the mistakes that we make and move forward from there.
That's fair. That's fair enough.
I mean, we're human. We're human, and yeah, we're not perfect.
Exactly. And I don't think anyone's going to sneak into the police department, get scrutinized and take tests and all that. And this is just me. I don't think they could be part of anything that Kristen was saying that maybe they were. That's just me. That'd be hard. I mean, that would come out. That'd come out in all the reports, right?
You would think so. I mean, anything is possible. I mean, like I said, coming on as a young man, my thoughts and my values may be a little bit different than they are now. So I guess if mine change to a positive, it could change to a negative depending on your environment and the things that you're surrounded by.
Right. Okay, let me get a couple more questions and we'll move to the next question. Do you think the police departments, this is from Olinda, do you think police departments should reallocate some of their budget to do more outreach or programs in the community? And I know you guys do already.
Yeah, we actually do a lot of outreach. The state police, we do. I'm part of it. I actually go out and speak to officers. I speak to driver's ed classes. So we actually do that. But for every department, there's a balance, budget balance. There's a balance of manpower, what they can and can't do. They still have to keep the cities and the towns safe. So people have to be out on the road patrolling. So there's always that balance, and I know that every chief and every supervisor has to kind of look at things and say what kind of decide what they can and what they can't do.
Right.
But I know as far as state police is concerned, I know that we do a lot of outreach.
Yeah, and there's only so much time in the day, right? I mean, there's only so much you can do. Carly's saying this, and I'm puzzled as to what kind of training new recruits have regarding the community they're serving, i.e., why get a white cop who's never grown up around minorities, yet he or she, why get a white cop who's never grown up around minorities, yet he or she are now in the urban community policing with no ideas of community? So I don't know if that happens. Does that?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know that being in West Warwick and then being with the state police. So I don't know that in reference to where you're chosen to patrol.
Yeah.
Is decided based on your race and ethnicity. You patrol where they tell you, and you go where they tell you to go.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's a whole lot of thought that goes into we should put this guy in this community versus, just trying to cover the patrol areas that they have to cover.
Well, see, my mind goes there just by default. Like when I was seeing the protesting, and a lot of them were peaceful, like 95% of them are peaceful, but there's like a few rows of officers. But I was noticing when I'm seeing the camera angles, and this is from different channels, because I like to hop to different channels, I was noticing it wasn't so in your face, but I noticed a lot that there were black cops in the front row. So maybe that was like, hey, he's a cop, but wait, he's black. Okay, so if there's going to be some anger, don't, because he's one of us. I don't know. I thought maybe it was a marketing thing, like, hey, we got to send these guys out, but put some of the cops of color in the front. I don't know. Is that doesn't happen, does it? Or
I don't know if that was any ideas that were put out for the recent protest. I know I was at the protest and I wasn't in front anywhere.
You weren't, yeah,
I was,
I know.
Standing by an exit, stopping and watching protesters go by and making sure that no one got injured or hurt or put themselves in a bad situation.
So now Rhode Island was fairly good with the protest, right? I mean, there was some vandalism. So have they been arrested, people that you've caught, or is it hard to find them because they just spray paint stuff and take off?
To be honest, I'm not even sure how many arrests, if there were any arrests that particular night that I was there. I know a few nights prior, there was a lot of incidents that happened and, a few arrests that were made. As far as the actual protest on Friday, I'm not sure how many arrests were made. I mean, where I was peaceful. Mm-hmm. And there was no incidences in my area.
Right. All right, well, let's talk about, and I know it kind of hurts you to hear this, on that Monday when George Flynn was unfortunately killed. Just take me back there. When did you hear about it? What were you thinking?
I heard of it the next morning. And I remember seeing a video of it, and I remember thinking to myself how horrible that was, and that that officer should be fired and arrested. And I remember, as I'm watching the video, thinking to myself as I'm watching the officer that's standing next to him, saying, "Why aren't you telling him to get off and to stop?" Because there's a point where you have a person under control, where you have enough officers there where you can control the situation and you don't have to continue to add force. And I felt that they had reached that point and there was no need to further continue with the force. Mm-hmm. That was, so the police officer in me was looking at it from that angle. The African American in me was hurt to my core to see this happen and then be someone videoing it live. You know what I mean? And another African American male, killed. That didn't have to die. Mm-hmm. And then the pastor in me wanted to cry and wanted to mourn, and wanted to seek why these things happen and why is this happening, and mm-hmm. Just praying for the family and praying for George Floyd, and even for the officer that did that. He's still a man and still human, and God still loves him as well. So, I was kind of struggling, these three parts of me, as I watched that,
Yeah. African American, cop, Christian, just like this trinity of like emotion. Yeah, that's got to be crazy. So, and I do want to, it's kind of graphic, but the officer was using his knee on the neck. I think I've heard it. Could I hear it from you? Is that not protocol? You don't do that?
Yeah, I've never been taught that. And I've never seen anyone from the state police taught that, or any municipal police academy member taught that. So I've never actually seen that myself. So I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
And, sometimes when we're trying to get a person under control, it's kind of like they teach you how to tackle in football, right? A proper, perfect tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But you maybe only get that once or twice in a season. Rest of the time, you're just trying to get the guy on the ground. So, and I'm not making excuses up or trying to sugarcoat anything. But once that person's on the ground, they're on the ground, and you have control, and now it's time to stop. And I think that's where he went too far.
So if you were the lead officer in that scenario, would you have been fine just one person he's handcuffed, he's on the ground, he's on his belly? Just what should have been the scenario? I'm just curious. Was it way too many people? Was 4 okay, but it just shouldn't have been on the neck? What would have been a scenario that an officer would have taken?
Well, once he's handcuffed and under control, then we would have put him in the back of a police car and prepared to transport him back to the barracks or station.
Yeah, so the big question is, why did they keep him down? I mean, you don't know the answer. We don't know it, but why would they just... you would roll him over and put him in the car, right?
Well, that would be the normal state of things. I don't know. I don't have a lot of the background.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it took place the way it did. But it still comes down to, at some point, especially when someone's saying, I can't breathe, you relent and you get them help.
Yeah, you were telling me that earlier. When someone says, I can't breathe, or they cry out for help, that's like the whistle that cops listen for, right? That's their job, to help people. So, Silvio Gario, good friend of mine, black. What advice would you give to a young black man to thrive in the current climate when engaged by any officer?
Well, my advice would be to listen, do what they tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win, even if you feel you're in the right. You can't win. So just do what they tell you to do and survive the encounter. Yeah. And if you have a complaint or you have an issue with the way that you would treat it, then there's ways to go about filing a complaint and bringing that forward to the proper people. But in the moment, and I get it. I've been in moments where I've been stopped by police officers, and I know I really didn't do anything wrong, but they were stopping me for whatever reason they decided to stop me for, and just doing what they tell me to do.
Yeah.
And not trying to make it an issue or make it a thing, so that I can survive the encounter.
It's trust. I mean, I think we have to just trust that the officers know what they're doing, even if you know you're completely innocent and you have no idea why they're arresting you. Just do the right thing. Amy Gates says, police have so much to access and deal with in a split second. Can you comment on what goes through your head? That's a great question. So you're in a situation like that. What's the first thing you're thinking of?
Well, I mean, in my case, for me, it's always I always lean towards my safety first, and then the protection and safety of the person I'm dealing with. It's not an easy question, right? Yeah. I like to think that most guys I know, in my case, I lean on my training, and if I have good training, then I'm probably going to get through whatever scenario situation I might be in. But it's different for everyone, in that split second, you have to make a decision. And we know that decision that you make in that split second it's going to be looked at and judged and pondered over possibly for months and maybe years in some cases. But you have to make that in 1/10 of a second, or it's your life on the line. So, each guy is going to react differently. It just comes down to that person and what they've experienced in their lives and what they've gone through and how all those things how those things come together in that moment.
Is there training for that, by the way? If they put two cops with completely different experiences in life and they bust open a door and say, this guy's got a gun and he's holding it against a woman's head, what do you do? Boom, you got 3, 2, 1. I mean, is it like, are they put in psychological situations like that to think, or is it just common sense for them?
Well, we have scenario training where we go through scenarios of the shoot or don't shoot scenarios. But and most times those are times when that there's a shoot no shoot scenario. On the side of the road, when you're walking up to a car that you stopped for speeding, you have no idea that this person just committed a crime or just beat up their wife or may have a gun in the car, and have bad intentions. You have no idea. You just stopped them for speeding. And then all of a sudden, this thing, happens and you have to react to it.
It escalates, yep. Olinda is asking, have any civilians you've had to interact with as an officer treated you disrespectfully because of the color of your skin?
Absolutely. I've had have had men and women call me names, try to get me to react poorly to them by saying racial things to me. But I don't let those things interfere with my doing my job. And I also know that they're saying it out of anger and, out of spite. And, I'm still going to do my job. It's not going to prevent me from doing the job that I'm going to do. And I don't let it bother me.
Another question I have is, do you think the protests that have been happening, protests and demonstrations, are helping in any way?
I think they are. I think they are helping. I think they're making people think. I mean, you're doing a week-long talk on racism, so they're taking effect. I don't agree with the destruction, but as I was watching something the other day, and someone made a point that kind of resonated within me. And when something's happened to someone so long and so often, and you've yelled, you've peacefully protested, you've done everything that you could think to do to say this is happening and to hope that it stops happening, but it continues to happen. It turns into something where now it becomes more than just anger, more than just frustration. It becomes rage. And rage is something that's uncontrolled. You can't control rage. Rage destroys. Rage is destruction. And that's the thing that, I caution the protesters against. It's okay to be angry. Jesus had a righteous anger when he went into the temple courtyards. So it's okay to be angry. Angry actually at times helps, because it actually helps you to change something. It helps you to move something. But when you're in rage, the only thing that can happen when you're enraged is that you end up destroying, you end up doing negative things, and it's uncontrolled. So I just caution people, you have every right to protest. You have every right to say what's on your mind and to go, and you should go against. This is a travesty what happened to George Floyd. And we should be angry, when that happens. But rage is a whole different thing, and that's never a good thing.
Yeah. So Suzanne Bays says, they were also saying defund the police, and I don't understand what that means. If that happened, would you be able to get your jobs done safely and get paid? So address that if you can, Sergeant.
From what I understand, defund the police means cancel the police, right? Because if there's no funding for police officers, how are we going to have police officers? And the problem with that is, as much as people might believe and think that they could be better without the police officers. The police officers are really the thin blue line that separates society from operating productively and society being in anarchy. If there's no thin blue line that's holding evil at bay in the world, then that's going to be set free. And woe be it to anybody. I mean, if you protested, or if you said the wrong things, your very life could be forfeited. The police officers is what allows you to have freedom to march, freedom to speak your mind, and to do the things that you're able to do. To defund the police would be kind of like spiting your nose to spite your face, biting off your nose to spite your face. And I don't understand that. There are way more great police officers, not good, but great police officers out there than there are bad. And it's not worth destroying the whole thing for a couple of bad apples.
Right. So Carly just said defund doesn't mean, she's talking to Suzanne, doesn't mean no cops. Please research it and it will work in some, not all neighborhoods. So I guess it doesn't mean get rid of the police force for what she's saying. Amy Gates says, controversial, the DA handling the case may be overcharging. What would happen if the cops walk? If the cop walks?
Well, I mean...
Oh, yeah, that's a...
Unfortunately, if he walks after everyone in the whole world's seen this,
right.
that would justify, the complaints that everyone has. That is this systemic system that's in operation that needs to be changed, that needs to be rewritten. We've been playing by the same playbook for a very long time, and it's time to put some new plays in. It's time to change up the offense a little bit and do things differently. And I think if we don't do it in this case, it's just going to be a shame, really. It's going to be sad. Yeah,
I think it's hitting apex. I think there's been a lot of really bad killings by bad cops. That's why all this is kind of coming out. And again, I agree with you. They're not all bad. Most are not. But this one was so in-your-face innocent, like, oh my gosh, that if they do, to Amy's point, I mean, if they let this guy go, I don't want to live in America at that point. It's going to be crazy. I mean, the anger, you talk about rage. I think you can be a righteous person, but man, you got to control that. People are going to be losing it. But anyway, Rick Greenwood, he's from California. Intense questions. Thanks for your time and your humility while handling this challenging situation in our country. Keep up the great work. We need people like you out there. There you go. And then let's see, G-Man White. All the while he had his left hand in his pocket. If George Floyd was resisting, why was the cop's hand in his pocket? And Carly says, G-Man, thank you. You're right. A lot of questions. Oh, Suzanne, I have and still don't understand it completely. I think about defunding. I think increasing social work, addiction counseling, etc. are a great idea. I just don't want police to be without what they need. And Carly says, I am in the mentality that as a cop, if you cannot do your job fairly, justly, and without any prejudices, then you should be dealt with as... It keeps disappearing. You should be dealt with as in firing. That's true in all jobs. So why is it hard for cops? I guess there's frustration from people feeling like, why aren't more cops fired for, because didn't he have 17 cases against him?
I think it just has a lot to do with unions and boards and Bill of Rights and, all those types of things. But, as much as people don't realize, police officers are getting fired every day for different violations and different things. They just don't know about it or hear about it. It's not something that they put on the news all the time. But departments and chiefs of police and colonels, they're doing their job and trying to find those bad apples. But unfortunately, sometimes it happens right on national TV, and you have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Amy says, you all should hold a giant call-in day and see how that goes to defund supporters. Call-in, I don't know what a call-in day is. You know what that?
Yeah, maybe take the day off. But no, it's we have to do our jobs.
Yeah.
We have to be.
You have to hold the blue line.
There are people that need our help every day, that need us out there, and that's what we have to do.
And Bob says, I believe defunding does not mean to completely cut funding. It's not like the dismantling Minneapolis is talking about. There's a lot. I don't know how many questions I can get to. It's not to eliminate every police officer, but to reimagine ways to make us safe that doesn't necessarily involve traditional law enforcement. I mean, everyone's got an opinion. There's so many opinions. Ron Sweeney, when the agreement is to abide by the laws and you'll be equally treated and respected, but time and time again you see the agreement negated and lives disrespected and mistreated to the point of death. There comes a time when people no longer have a reason to stick to the agreements, the laws. And Amy says, would it be on purpose? People are responding to each other, so I don't know where that's from. Let's talk about Blue Lives Matter. What are your thoughts on Blue Lives Matter? Is it a response to Black Lives Matter? Thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, every life matters. Every single life matters. Whether it's blue, black, white, brown, yellow, every life matters.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is a child of God, so every life matters. Police officers, their lives matter as well.
Sure.
We're out there doing a difficult job, a very difficult job. And, each person, when they get up in the morning and they go out on the road to do their job. See, we have the one job that you can't promise your wife or your kids that when you leave the house that morning, that you're going to come home that evening.
Mm-hmm.
Because anything can happen on a given day. And no one else, other than maybe firefighters, have that responsibility. It's one of those things where you just have to go out every day and you have to make it your responsibility to do your job as the best way that you can, the most professional way that you can,
mm-hmm.
and that you can treat people fairly and treat them honestly, and still do your job in the same aspect of that. There's been plenty of times where I've had to arrest people or cite them and just explaining to them why this is happening. And most people kind of get it and they kind of understand. All right, well, you got to do your job, even if they're not happy that they're getting a ticket or they're not happy that they're getting arrested. They understand that you are doing your job, and in the process of that, you're still, taking care of them. You're still watching out for them. You're still, respecting them.
Yeah. So Joe Reddish, he wanted me to put this up. calloutprejudiceRI.org, and so you work with Joe.
Yeah.
Is that the organization you're also with?
The commission.
Yeah.
Joe is the president of the commission.
Oh no, the Bias and Prejudice Commission is not the same as Call Out.
No.
Okay,
no.
Two totally different things. But one is if you do feel like as a black person that you are being biased against, that is, I'll put that up here again. And we've shared this on Monday, but we didn't even know that was a website. Call Out Prejudice RI. You go and then they bring people in and investigate. If say there's a store owner of a restaurant that you felt was,
one sign I saw on Friday that I thought was extremely interesting. It said, white silence is complicit. I thought that was interesting because it made me wonder how many people observed prejudice or racism, or someone's even spoken to them about it, that they just did nothing.
Right.
That they just said nothing, when they could have either prevented it or said something. So that kind of struck me. That the silence. How many people have had conversations, or someone has said something to that was racist, or that showed a dislike for a certain gender or race.
Sure.
And said nothing.
And what are your thoughts on the cell phones and people like putting the phones up to cops and filming bad guys and good guys? And
I say good. I say go for it, because I've never been afraid of cameras or video cameras, because if you're doing your job and you're doing it right, then you should have no fear of someone videoing you or filming you. The truth is that if it were not for cell phones and the video cameras, then half of these things that happen we would never know about.
yeah.
So, it's a good thing, and maybe it's a good thing to let police officers know that, hey, you know what? You could be getting videoed right now. You can, people are watching, and so be on your best behavior. Do the things the right way, so that, maybe that's a good thing to have out there. I can imagine all the things that happened before cell phones and before cameras, that were never reported, never seen. And that's part of the anger, because those things were happening and never being reported, or either being reported and nothing ever happening. And people are just fed up, and now they're seeing it, on their TV screens at nighttime. And that's just, it's just causing things just to go really, really, really bad.
Yep. If you're doing good, then a video is for both. It's true. Yep. It's the idea, if it does not involve me, I don't get involved. A lot of people are saying thank you. Yes, thank you, Sergeant. Grateful for you. Carly says, with cameras, it serves cops and victims. Yeah, I imagine, man, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even as early as early 2000s, like 40 some years, or even further back, if you want to go that far back, how many deaths that we assumed happened because the person just tripped and fell. And it was like, no, there was, if there was a body cam, it was a bad cop, or,
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you go back to the 60s, you mentioned the 60s, so you go back to that time, you played the President Kennedy video at the beginning, and people were seeing this unfold in their evening news. So they were seeing the marches, they were hearing about the marches, and then things were happening at the marches, and then they were seeing it on their news in the evening. And that sparked an uprising in the people to say this is not good, and we shouldn't be this way anymore, and change needs to happen. And in the same way, we've come this far, and you would think that we're past that, that we're past this point of mistreatment, but still happens. Someone sent me a message one day, and they said, people are getting mistreated all the time, whether they're white, brown, or whatever. And so why is everyone making a big deal of this, right? And I just responded, with a and then I said, well, the problem is that it's only young black men that are being killed. And I said, so once it starts getting equally disseminated, then maybe you have an argument. But until then, it's just young black men that are getting killed. So you can kind of see why everyone's so upset, and why there's an uprising and an uproar about this going on.
Mm-hmm. And the percentage of blacks in America are nowhere near the percentage of whites, which is at the 74% or whatever it is. Someone quote me on that. I don't remember. But black men are like being killed 7 times more, 10 times, whatever even if it was 2 times more, it'd be like suspect. Like, we got to look into this. But it's like 5 to 7 to 10. It's just over the top. How does that make you feel every day? when you're on the force and you're just out
Well,
there?
like I said, like I said earlier, it's this constant battle within me of the three types of people. The African American male who's enraged and upset about it, and then the officer who wants to see things change, but be order. And then the pastor in me that just wants to see people love. See, here's the thing. So as I was thinking about this, and as I was thinking about everything that's been going on, the one thing that we're lacking here, and the one thing that the scripture says that above everything, put love. And love is the thing that quells rage. Love is the thing that quells anger. Love is the thing that that changes a racist person into a loving person. And I think we lack that at times. I think this officer that killed George Floyd lacked love for him. Loving doesn't mean we have to hug and kiss people and do all those things. Loving means just caring about them, just picking them up off the ground and letting them breathe. That's love. And I think we lack love. And if we would just take the time to look at each other as a human being, a fellow human being, that deserves a right to live and it deserves a right to prosper and have the American dream like everybody else, then I think we'll all be that much better off.
Right on, my friend. That's awesome. Alinda Brito, this was very informative. Thank you, Sergeant Pennington. Robert Scalise, thank you for your service. Pastor Wes. Amy Gates has a question. Can you comment on the police officers that died as a result of these riots? Why hasn't that got more attention? One retired officer tried to protect store, female shot in car, etc.
Yeah, that's wrong too. That's definitely wrong. My mom used to tell me when I was a little boy that two wrongs don't make a right.
Right.
And this is the case. Two wrongs do not make a right. So everyone that's taking this opportunity to push their evil agendas forward, that's wrong. And it takes away from the progress and the peaceful protest that everyone else is making when those people are involved in doing those types of things.
Yeah, Amy, thanks for that. That was a good question. Boy, these questions are long. You're going to have to go in and re-watch this to answer these. If you look back at history, there are so many incidents of murders that were never put in the history books. Black Wall Street, Rosewood, how many lynchings? Hell, we can't even get any anti-lynching laws passed. That's a big one. Rick Smith, I heard this today. All tires matter, but you don't keep driving with the flat one. You fix it.
Good.
Dude.
Good.
Joe Reddish, amen. Alana Hewitt, recognizing that we are all God's children, all children of God. Carly Boyce, when you don't see your fellow human beings as humans, then love is void of one heart. I mean, that's really the cancer. It's almost not even, racism is not the problem in America, right? I know how shocking that is. It's racism week. It's just hatred anyway. It's just random hatred. You can't tell me what to do. I'm flying the rebel flag, and then if you don't like it, it bothers you. I'm gonna get a bigger one. I mean, that's just hatred. Why would you want to do that to someone? Do you have a right to do whatever you want? Yes, I could paint my house green or orange, but if it's bothering someone, try to work it out. There's an underlying sin to all of this. It's like you can't tell me what to do. It's pride. And racism, I'm not saying racism, there's no problem with racism in America, but I do think that it goes even deeper than racism. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, one of the things that I tell police officers in our fair and biased policing training is that, people are different and you're different. So how do you get past a bias? How do you get over a bias? How do you get past the prejudice that you have? You have to intentionally go and encounter those types of people that you have a prejudice against.
Right,
And you have to meet them, you have to learn about them, you have to get to know them, because I believe the thing that drives and makes prejudice continue to go forward is a lack of information, a lack of knowing. If someone's prejudice against a race or against someone who's bisexual or transvestite or queer or gay or anything like that, you need to go and have an encounter with that person or those types of people in order to overcome that prejudice, in order to see who they are, that they're people. You have to kind of get them and put them into a personal realm where they become personal, a person, just like you're a person. And that's the only way that you can do that. A quick story. When I was in West Warwick, I was a African American police officer in the town of West Warwick, and the town is majority Portuguese. So I had never really experienced Portuguese culture before or anything like that, and so it would be tough for me to police them if I don't know them or how they operate or the things that they believe in or they like. And so what I would do is on patrol, I would go down and I would introduce myself, and I would get to meet them, and I would talk to them, and I would ask them about different questions about Portuguese culture that I wasn't aware of. And I got a chance to understand them. I got a chance to know them. I got a chance to be a part of their culture, which allowed me to more effectively police them. And that's what we have to do. I mean, in this case, we have to be intentional and actually encounter those things that we have a belief against for whatever reason. Who knows? Maybe this police officer, when he was 10 years old, got jumped by two black guys, and they jumped him, and he's had this thing in him ever since, that he believes that all black people are mean and aggressive. And now he's a police officer, and he comes across poor George Floyd, and he ends up paying the price for this belief that he's had since he was 10 years old. So what we have to do is we have to kind of understand that, I have an angst against them. I have a problem with that race. I have a problem with that person, with that type of person. And we need to go and encounter them and say, hey, let's just talk. Can I meet you? Can I talk with you? Yeah. I want to get to know you, because, you need to overcome those things so that you can better police, so that we can better be people with, treating humans as humans.
That's really cool, Wes. I completely agree with you. And I had this idea a year ago. I'm an idea man. I'm in marketing. I'm always thinking it's the curse of being creative. A squirrel pops out and I'm like, oh, look at that. But I had this idea of maybe Friday night race dinner or something, where you sign up as a white person. You sign up, you put your profile in like Facebook, but it's a dinner or a talk, a race talk. And you say, I'm available Friday night, the next 4 Fridays, and the next 3 Thursdays. Not the last one because I got a wedding to go to. But here's my schedule. I'm free these days. You put it in. Bunch of white people. Bunch of black people do it the same. And the system automatically kind of matches you. And it's like, boom, and you get ding. Hey, someone has that date free, but it's not white. It's a black person. And you got to go, and you got to meet them. And you're like, hey, what's your name? Oh, Wesley. I'm Dave. And you go grab some ribs somewhere and you just talk about race. I mean, interesting. I don't think it'll work, because I think in the hearts of men, we don't want to go past our safe zone. But I was at the beach the other night. I saw these teenagers. One was biracial, 3 were black, and 1 was white. And I just went, at first I thought, I don't belong there, because they're teenagers. I'm clearly not. I'm like in my early 20s, and but I'm white. And I went over, but it was cool. They completely accepted me, and I don't know. Blacks and whites need to just have dinner together and talks. And how could you be racist, a white racist, playing Lynyrd Skynyrd? I don't know. I'm just saying. Sorry, Lynyrd Skynyrd fans. I like Skynyrd, but I'm using a typical Skynyrd fan, white, long hair, Ford F-150. I hate blacks, and then they've got 10 black friends. How could that possibly happen? To me, that doesn't make sense. Once you get to know the other side, you're going to, and again, I'm not insulting Leonard Skinner fans. Don't get your bowels in an uproar, people. Everyone's going to be writing me after the show. How dare you say that? But you know what I'm saying? We should get together, right?
I agree, and that's being intentional, and actually seeking out those that you don't know and don't understand in order to get a better understanding. In order that we all can get along.
Yeah. So here's the deal. I'm white. You're black. You know how to make really good ribs because you've got a YouTube channel. I'm thinking, I'm throwing it out there. I'm available if you want to have me over.
Absolutely.
Come on, man. You're a YouTube star.
I make pretty good ribs. Yeah.
Good ribs. So actually, yeah, guys, I didn't put it under his name, but that number is not his number. That's at the station, right?
Right.
But if you want to get a hold of Wes, obviously great guy. You've seen him, you've heard him. 764-550505. Call him up. I mean, don't hound him because he's at work, but call him, get a hold of him, talk to him. A great guy. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Any closing words?
Sure. I mean, my closing words to everyone is just, have patience with each other. Love each other. Watch out for each other. Protect each other. And mankind was put on this earth to take care of it and to take care of each other. God put us here for a reason. And, we have to let our light shine. Sometimes letting your light shine is you just accepting someone else as a fellow brother, as a fellow sister. That's it. That's the answer to this. The good book says, love your neighbor. Right? Love your neighbor. And it doesn't mean that you have to be best friends. You have to, make them dinner every night. But love them means watch out for them, take care of them, don't mistreat them, don't steal from them, don't beat them, don't murder them. That's loving your neighbor. So.
Well, I wonder, if George Floyd would have still been alive, if those cops had black friends and had a little bit more foresight and went, this has got to be painful for him. We can't do this. And they just spoke up. How many people could have been alive? It's just one death, but it's a huge, huge death. Rick Smith just said, Abraham Lincoln said, I don't like that man. I must get to know him better. That's great wisdom, huh? I don't like that man. I must get to know him better. Bob Goldberg, thank you, Sergeant. Everybody thank him. Great guy. Thank you for all your service. Thank you that you do believe that blue lives matter, white lives, green lives, every life matters, but right now that black lives really need to have that spotlight. True.
Absolutely.
So let's just stop thinking selfish. Think of the blacks that need their voice heard. We have not been. I joke with a friend of mine who's Irish. He goes, well, we had it bad too. I mean, 1849, the potato famine. We all had to come from Ireland over. I'm like, oh, don't even start. It doesn't even compare. Doesn't even compare. My buddy Rye from the Philippines. We got California to the Philippines. Watching all the way from Philippines. No to racism. Cool. Suzanne Bays, it was great hearing from you. I'm encouraged. I feel like if there were more people like you in leadership positions, the world would be a better place. Rick Smith, thank you very, very much. Aaron Kloss, thank you, Sergeant. They're all coming. They love you, man. I hope you can feel that.
Thank you. Love them too. Absolutely.
I'd love you more, I'll be honest with you, if I had some ribs. Just saying. I still didn't get the invoice. Didn't get the email yet.
We'll have ribs one day, Dave. Me and you, we'll have some. I'll make them.
I'm looking at my inbox right now. I don't see it. I don't see it coming. Take care. I love you. You're a great guy.
Thank you. Bless you.
Bye-bye. Man, that was awesome, huh? Every guest. I'm loving this Racism Week. Yeah, we need to have... Someone needs to buy the domain racedinners.com. I thought of it a year ago. I actually called a white friend and a black friend, and I texted both of them, and I chickened out. I'm like, it's just stupid. Why would we do that? Who's going to do that? And now it's at an all-time high. I could have been sitting on millions. Oh, by the way, yeah, you have to pay to sign up for it, because I ain't doing that thing for nothing. That's a website where you pay $1 a month. But how cool would that be, huh? You just get matched up and you're forced to, if you're black, you've got to meet this white guy. You could be 25 years old and he's a 73-year-old white guy, but you went out for a hot wiener and you got to know him, you know? Or you went to Allie's Donuts and, oh, hey, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there, Allie's. What's up for tomorrow, Dave? Well, tomorrow, I want to say I saved the best for last. Every single one is great. I can't believe it. Tomorrow, this guy goes to churches and different events and teaches on racism. He is, with a capital F, fantastic. So, Rick Smith, if you're hearing me right now, type in what you think of him. I know you think the world of him. He's heard him. Great job, Dave. Thank you. Oh, let me put that over there. Yeah, thanks. We're all down for ribs. Yeah, he's a great guy. I can joke with him. I can hang with him. All right, so now we're going to do this. Okay, are you guys ready for this? Live for 5. Yeah, this is not an hour show. I thought it was. I just need to say it's an hour and a half. But we got like 5 minutes, okay? We got a lot of people watching. Certainly, what this is, right here, boom, see? Facebook Live for 5 is if you call that number, 345-9036, in the next 5 minutes. No. If you call that and you have an iPhone, we can FaceTime and it'll be split screen, just like Sergeant Wesley Pennington. And you can talk for 5 minutes or 2 minutes or a minute, whatever. Just get on the phone, just say, man, that was great. And that way everyone can see you. And it's kind of like an interview, but it's not. Okay? So let me get my phone here. Got it ready. So really anybody, and I've had 3 people already do this. And I will show you what it looks like in just a second. Let me plug this in. Live for 5. Where's my thing? I don't see it. It's not showing up. Here it is. There it is. See, there's my phone. There's my phone. There's my apps. Joe Reddish. See, it works. All right, let's FaceTime Joe Reddish. So Joe won't be able to see me because I'm angling this towards the microphone. Joe, are you there?
There it is. See, there's my.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, how you doing there, Dave?
Good. What do you think? What's your thoughts on the good sergeant?
I think it was outstanding. Wes is such an exceptional individual in law enforcement and really sets a great example.
And you've known him for a while. You've worked with him. You feel like he's just irreplaceable on the team, right, to help?
Yes, he brings an aspect to the commission that's fantastic because of the community and law enforcement put together. Mm-hmm.
So everybody out there, if this is just your first night, this is Thursday. You got one more night of this. It's been a whirlwind. It's been like 1,000, actually a little over 1,000 people watching each episode. I'm blown away, and I don't know what the numbers are. It's going to be another 1,000 tonight because we're sharing this among other pages. But Joe Reddish, right here, was on Monday night. Just go in and look at Monday's date. Just look for Joe Reddish, and that was the first one of Racism Week. Thank you so much for being on. I've gotten so many comments.
I was glad to be on. And just a clarification, the Call Out Prejudice Rhode Island website, .org website, that is for the commission. And we named it that so people know where to go. I also wanted to share, we had our commission meeting this morning, and I'll tell you, the state of Rhode Island, the visibility on this whole challenge that we're having right now nationwide and locally, we actually had the Attorney General Peter Arona join us this morning. Commissioner Pear joined the meeting this morning, as well as we had almost 6 different chiefs from different cities join us in the discussion today on how we need to move forward. And I learned something today. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the Black Lives flag is actually Black Lives Matter flag is flying over the police department in Providence, and a lot of people don't realize that. So the police department is committed and supporting the community.
Mm-hmm. What do you say to people that feel jealous that blacks are getting the spotlight right now? And that's, I think that's where it's coming from. Well, blue lives matter, or well, all lives matter. It's are they jealous? Do you think they're jealous of blacks getting attention?
I hope they're not jealous. I think it should be more of a view of it. There's been a lot of things that have happened over the years, and unless you have worn that suit, that color, you don't understand. And equality is something that our Constitution, gives to everyone, and the examples are evident. And so now it's time to figure out a way to move forward together,
right.
Make a difference.
Yep. Would you have dinner with a white person?
I have dinner with friends who happen to be of different colors all the time, and that's really we'll know we've reached a milestone in our country when we're not describing our friends by their color, but
right.
just our friends and our comrades, the individuals we work with. And keeping in mind, yes, we never want to forget all of our different cultures, but we should be working together.
Yeah.
And find ourselves by our spectrum.
It's Joe Reddish. He happens to be black, but that's not the thing. Well, I was referring to, kind of jokingly, that little business idea of race dinners or whatever, where it's like black people have to have dinner with white just to get to know each other. It's a start. But I was jokingly saying that. Basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have you cook for me.
Well, that's no problem. I already sent you a message saying I'll bring the peach cobbler.
Oh, man, you're speaking my... Well, I like tapioca a little better, but peach cobbler is really good.
Well, peach cobbler, I'll teach you how to be black.
Is that a thing? Is that culturally black, peach cobbler? I didn't know that.
The southern meal is really what it is.
Southern, yeah, okay. Well, I'm Irish. I don't know where tapioca comes from. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit crazy. I'm a bit tapioca. I don't know.
I'll make you a potato pie.
Potato pie. Cool. So Carly is, who would be jealous of black attention? Really? That's insane, she says. Great answer, Joe. Joe, thanks for coming on. Live for 5. I'm going to open it up for another one, and then we got to close for the night and put the kids to bed. Thank you so much, and watch Joe's episode Monday night.
Take care.
Take care, bud. Yeah, I'll take one more person. Thoughts on tomorrow night? Rick Smith, if you have an iPhone, get on, because I want you to promote tomorrow night, Jeremy, because you've heard him. I haven't, but I wouldn't have him on unless I respected where it came from. Peach Cobbler Joe, are you from Georgia? Yeah, man, he's Joe likes food there. Hey guys, this has been a great week. I'm gonna just probably turn this off. It's okay if no one else calls. It's all right. I'm not hurt. I'm having ribs next week, and I'm having peach cobbler. Tomorrow night is going to be. Let me just give you a little. I'm exhausted from this. This is great. Jeremy Ogunba. He's a young kid, and he is busy. He talks about. Oh, Rick Smith doesn't. He just said I don't. Bummer. But he speaks about racism and the history, the big overarching history of it. And it is a history lesson in racism in America. You cannot miss it. Please, if you do anything this week, especially right now, educate yourself. I cannot wait to hear him. I've never heard him speak, but I've heard 4 other people say, oh my gosh, you missed the greatest thing. Rick Smith, good buddy of mine, is like, Dave, that was fantastic. He's an educator. He's an educator on racism. That's tomorrow night at 9. That's probably going to go to 10:30 or 10:15. I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to cut out all the little silly stuff in the beginning. I'm just going to almost get right into it within 10 minutes. So show up 5 minutes early tomorrow night. Tell your friends. This is the last night. I'm gonna miss this. Oh my gosh. Someone even said I should do week 2. But listen, next week I'm back to the regular schedule, and I think that's going to wrap up season 1. I believe I'm going to be taking a summer break. Just to kind of put it out there. I know. It's the show kind of took off, but I'm only going to do it like maybe Wednesday nights or Thursday nights. I'll determine. But next week is interesting. Next week I've got a ventriloquist. I've got someone who's a grief counselor. I won't get into it. I'll tell you tomorrow night. It's really good. All right, last question here. Carly Boyce, we humans are incredibly self-centered, jealously fear. If we don't come from a place of love, so many other things show up. It's scary. I see it in myself, so I'm certain this is what motivates some people, says Alana. Wise words from Alana Hewitt-Kraba, the woman that needs to write a book because she's got the greatest name for an author. Yeah. Dinner with the Races by Alana Kraba Hewitt. Just saying. Guys, take care. Everyone has an expiration date. They do. Everyone has an expiration date. Treat each other with love. And everyone's going through a hard time. Someone said that once. They said, you should imagine a sign over everyone's head. I'm having a bad day. I just lost my mom. Or we're going through a divorce. Just because you know what? In reality, that probably is happening to many people. Treat people with love and respect. Reach out. Even if you completely disagree with them, just reach out and just say, hey, we should grab a coffee at Starbucks and just chat. Let's try to blend and see where you're coming from. Okay? Do that. We all have an expiration date. I'm going to die. I'm going to die someday. So, get to know me before that happens. Good night, Dave. Thanks for the show. Thank you, guys. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Jeremy Agunbu. Do not miss it. History lesson. Bring an apple to the teacher.